Hello everyone, hope you're all well, and thanks very much for all the support with my videos, the likes, the shares and comments. I'm very grateful. Today I want to speak about Simon Harris and what's been going on in the European Union over the last number of days. Today he's in Brussels at the European Council meeting where they're going to be working on deciding on the next European Commission President. Sorry, the re-elected or reappointed European Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen, who is pushing to be extended in that position for another 5 years. Of course, the European Commission offices are just across the road from NATO, so it's really one of the same, isn't it? Stoltenberg, von der Leyen, it's all these movable chairs in these positions of power in the European Union, and with the warmongers. And we know von der Leyen previously was the German Defence Minister, had a lot of her own backroom deals sorted there in that position as well, and contracts given, which was the perfect start before she got entry into the European Commission as the President, unelected and compromise candidate back in 2019 as well. But the decision to re-elect her would be pushed forward by the European Council leaders today, and it needs a qualified majority of 14 out of the 27 member states need to get behind von der Leyen's reappointment before it goes before the European Parliament again. But it looks like at the moment, judging by Simon Harris's response, is that his 4 Fine Gael MEPs are fully behind von der Leyen, unsurprisingly. 4 of them are Regina Doherty, Nina Carberry, the ex-jockey, and we had Maria Walsh as well, the ex-Rosa Tralee, and Sean Kelly, the ex-GEA president, who moved into these positions of power as MEPs for Fine Gael and the European People's Party as well. Now, the European Council meeting will be held today, and they'll be having a meal, fancy meal, a nice bit of dining before Ursula von der Leyen leaves the room, and then they decide in private who they're going to look for appointment as European Commission President. Very democratic, isn't it? All these leaders meeting together and then deciding who the European Commission President is. It doesn't come down to a vote of the people, but again it comes down to the heads of governments in these countries. Of course, himself, Simon Harris, wasn't elected by anybody as Taoiseach in Ireland, even though that's the way it works in Ireland. Another unelected head of state. And again, they work towards electing its own president, the European Council also as well. Less democracy at play in the European Council because they work on their own position as president. So Charles Michel is outgoing, and it looks like it could be reappointed as perhaps Costa, I think, is the man from Portugal. The ex-Portuguese Prime Minister Antonio Costa is looking as likely maybe being the next European Council President. And now we have, they're going to be appointing also as well the High Representative, which is the Foreign Affairs Representative for the European Union, which now currently is Jungle Joseph Borrell. But now they're moving on towards Kaja Kallas, of all people. Kaja Kallas, another great warmonger from Estonia, who's looking at now being the new High Representative. Now we wait and see how this transpires, but this is sort of what they're talking about at the moment. And this comes on the back of the Peace Summit in Switzerland over the last number of days, where 90 countries met. Of course, Russia weren't involved in this peace in Ukraine conference, where it was just a get-together, where they had a nice meeting, again, another fancy resort in Switzerland, top of the range resort where they met, patted each other on the back and worked on how to get the narrative to keep going to access the $12 trillion of resources in Ukraine. Of course, Ireland's position should be to seek Pacific settlements and international disputes, but with Simon Harris at the helm of our government, we don't see much sign of that happening because they're more interested in bowing down to Brussels like they've done with the European Migration Pact and erode Irish sovereignty and Irish neutrality also as well. Now, other countries on the back of this peace summit have come up with responses. Germany, for instance, are looking now towards compulsory conscription. This is wartime measures they're trying to bring forward, as well as they move towards escalation in the conflict with Russia, and talking about evacuation of citizens and food rationing and makeshift bunkers and upscaling hospitals and workers as well to work on this wartime measures, not to mention work on NATO troop movements as well to let them move through their territories. And this comes back on the United States as well, who had a selective service agreement, which is the Defence Authorization Bill, which includes 18 to 26-year-olds could be moved into a draft. They are residents of the United States, so it's not citizens, it's residents of the United States. Much the same what's happening here in Europe. And of course, Ireland are just bowing down to these warmongers rather than standing up for diplomacy and standing up for peace. And we've seen the fallout with the immigration chaos, with 120,000 Ukrainians coming to Ireland. Not to mention the temporary directive, which has been increased, or extended rather, until early 2026. So while all this is going on in the background, we can see the move in Europe is to re-elect von der Leyen. As I said, a former German defence minister who was involved in all these dodgy contract deals. Obviously as well the Pfizer contracts with Alfred Bourla, the president or CEO of Pfizer, where her text messages are missing because she's currently being investigated by the European Public Prosecution's Office around this. But of course, what will come of this? Corruption. It seems to be endemic in the European Union. And of course, she attended Tel Aviv on October the 7th as well, after the attacks on October 7th. And of course, we remember when the Israeli flag was painted all across the European Parliament buildings as well. So this is what we've come to expect. This is what the European Union really is all about. And as I've said, they want to move towards more war, and they're more interested in putting people in power and positions of power who are going to push this narrative as much as possible. And Simon Harris, being a complicit yes man, will continue on with this narrative as well. And we've seen the erosion of Irish neutrality, we've seen the destruction of Ireland through the neoliberal policies of the European Union. We've seen it through the bank bailout, we've seen it most recently with the immigration chaos and the migration pact, which is soon to be guillotined through Dáil Éireann and the Seanad over the next number of days. But of course, the Irish political establishment are all fully behind this, rather than standing up for peace or standing up for the interests of ordinary people, because wars never serve the interests of people, and it's always people who suffer, not these political elites who profit and benefit from it. So perhaps Harris has been bowing down to look down to get jobs in Europe for all the lads, and move towards the next European Commissioner for Ireland. Perhaps Michael McGrath has been talked about. Mary McGuinness is currently in that position as well, as being in charge of the financial side of things as a commissioner, and coincidentally is responsible for the sanctions. So a lot of these Irish political leaders move into these positions of power in the European Union to push through the agenda, push through the narrative, and keep the destruction of people's lives, forcing more and more people into poverty, and cause absolute chaos in ordinary people's lives. Not to mention Pascal Donoghue, who is the head of the banking group in the European Union. This is how Ireland is so intertwined with the corrupt neoliberal warmongering European Union. We need to stand up for a European project of peace, and more than ever now we need in Ireland to stand up for diplomacy as we drive towards more war, drive towards conscription, absolutely lunacy. And I'll be standing up against all these horrific attacks on ordinary people, and ordinary working class people in particular, in Ireland as well and across Europe, because we should be standing and demanding peace. And this has huge implications for us here locally in terms of the bigger, wider geopolitical picture as well. So while he's gone around the world, around Europe, travelling around, this is what Simon Harris is really up to, and what agenda he's pushing, rather than the agenda of the people. It's the interests of the people here in Ireland. Thanks for all the support on my videos, and please press subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks everybody who supports me through buying me a coffee, I'm very grateful. And from Dublin today, Slán, take care, bye bye.